And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Around the Bases with Bubba and Mo, episode 78. I'm going to do a lot of talking about this crazy MLB playoff situation. We have pretty much every division now since the Red Sox got swept by the Rays. Hey, Mo, how are we doing tonight?
I knew you were going to start like that somehow. I am fresh off a bachelor party, and I am a little tired. You could probably tell in my voice, but I am going to fight through it. And I'm just glad I didn't see a lot of that Red Sox series this weekend. So,
yeah, you could have watched the AL Cy Young winner pitching on Sunday for Tampa, and it was pretty wild.
Snellzilla.
But the excuse I've already heard from many, not you, but other Red Sox fans, it's almost like Cardinals Nation where it's like 50-50, but not completely. But it was because JD didn't play. So, that's why. Because that one guy.
Yeah, that's exactly why we gave up 19 runs in 3 games or whatever it was. That's exactly right. Yep.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's go to the AL East. I think last time we recorded, it was pretty much a done deal. The Yankees were fighting for a wild card spot and fighting at that. They were about to be knocked out of that the way we were looking at it. And now, after 1 week, they're 6 games out. I think they still have 6 games with you guys. And then, they just took the lead on the Blue Jays right now. They have the other, bottom feeders in the AL East to worry about. They do have to come west for a trip against Oakland. That'll be interesting. But other than that, they are only 6 games back now. And Chris Sale says he's ready to throw, but not quite there yet. What's the level of panic in Red Sox Nation?
I'm not panicking because you're right. Yeah, they do. They got 3 with Chicago, and like you said, they just hit. Glaber just hit a 2-run homer off the great Carlos Rodon, so they're up 2-0. And I know it's 3 with Chicago, 3 with Detroit for them, and then they got the West Coast trip, like you said. No matter who they play, if it's Texas, maybe it's a little bit different. Seattle's still tough out there. It's the longest trip that you can possibly make. Minnesota's still there. So 9 straight games on the road. I don't care who you're playing, especially when it's West Coast. Not easy, especially where their lineup tonight consists of Luke Voit, Shane Robinson.
Luke Voit hitting cleanup, by the way.
Luke Voit hitting cleanup, yes. So there's that. Severino's still a little iffy. So I'm not worried about a price coming into the form. We've got Miami. Got to sweep Miami. He's got 2. And then it's at Chicago White Sox. Got to win 3 out of 4. At Atlanta's tough. And then Houston, Toronto, Mets home, New York home, or at New York, then at Cleveland, Baltimore, and then 3 games with New York. Ultimately, Bubba, although it will be closer than I thought it would be, I think by the time we get to that last series, it'll be over. Which is kind of interesting because and then that kind of screws Oakland,
No, it's going to screw the Astros.
Oh yeah, well yeah. If you believe that, I don't. But if you believe in that, then yes, because Chaminade is out now. So
what's he doing anyways? We'll get to that in a minute. But you mentioned David Price, and I agree with Red Sox. They should be fine, but I think it's funny how literally not just our show, but in general, a week ago the Yankees are dead in the East, and now they have life. But David Price, as much crap as we've given him on this show, he does look like that ace. He flat out said it in his cocky nature, like always, that I'm pitching like the guy I'm paid to pitch. Like he has a sub-2 ERA in the second half of the season. He's been ridiculous. Are you ready to say he's a really good pitcher yet?
No, he's okay. Let's not twist the words a little bit. He's always been a really good pitcher. It's just there's everything around it, and unfortunately, you look at everyone looks at the money. When you kind of have to throw that out because he was always getting that contract, whether it was from us or St. Louis, and we needed him at that time. Like you don't win the division 2 years ago without him. He's done some different things. He's throwing more curveballs to, I believe, lefties and change up to righties more frequently. So he's kind of switched his pitch mix. He has moved over to the side of the rubber a little bit, which has caused a little deception. He's got to be that guy. If he can be that guy and you can get somewhat of Chris Sale back, you have a much better chance than you thought you did, and then Erod comes back. Because I don't know what Porcello's going to give. He's getting crushed lately, even though, he had that 86-pitch game against Toronto, I believe it was. He's had some really good starts, but his peripherals tell me he's going to get shot later. But yeah, look, Price isn't what it was in Toronto that year. It wasn't what he was in Detroit or Tampa, but he still should be a very good number 2 with the talent that he has. Don't you agree with that, right?
Oh, no, I think he's pitching out of his mind. He's pitching great. And right now he is the ace of your staff. So it's pretty darn impressive what he's been doing there.
It is. And like I said, I think ultimately, the Red Sox will clinch in that Baltimore series before, because, the Yankees do have 4 with Tampa before that last series too, in Tampa. And we've seen what Tampa's done lately. They've gotten their staff a little bit healthier. They've got prospects coming up that you'll see if they give one of those young arms a chance. Probably, I would guess no, but you never know with them. It's been incredible to see the 70 and 61, Bubba. Could you even picture them being 9 games over 500 from what they did earlier this year, where everyone was saying, oh, they got rid of this guy because you don't look at advanced analytics the way some other people do. Like, I remember we had Jason Collette on saying the Rays would be, defensively are going to be so much better than they were. Yeah, they'll lose Sousa's bat, they'll lose Dickerson's power, but defensively they're going to be so much better, and they have been. And now they're 9 games over 500. So although they're out of the race per se, they're 9 games back in the wild card. I'm still so impressed with what they've done, and they've improved their team with Tommy Pham and the rest of the crew too.
I absolutely love what the Rays have done. We've mentioned it before, the moves they've made, getting Bauer's time out there, the rotation they'll have when Honeywell and the others come up. They're loaded, and Matt Thompson and some other big prospect guys we like to follow. They mentioned that you should get really excited because it's not even this top level guys we're seeing right now. They're loaded all the way down to rookie ball. It is a fierce team, and the fact that they're putting together what they're putting together could be very, very nice for them for years to come. Now, the question always is will they ever have enough to overtake the Red Sox and the Yankees? That'll be the hard part to tell, but they're going to be damn competitive, as we saw over the weekend. I don't think it's a fluke. Like, sweeps aren't easy, and I'm not saying they're going to sweep them every time, but I don't think it's a fluke that they're going to be very, very competitive with these ball clubs in the coming years. Yeah,
no, I agree. And the issue that I have with the Rays is, can they ever keep these guys? Like, are we talking in 2 years they're going to trade Blake Snell for as much as they possibly can? They need a new ballpark. I almost, I feel bad for the Rays fans down there. We talk about Collette and Yancey and whoever else is a Rays fan. They might – I just don't think even if they get a new ballpark, that owner's going to put money into them. And it's kind of sad because for the last, when they made the World Series, 2008 or 2007 against the Phillies?
Like that,
2008, I think it was, when they lost to the Phillies. They, for about 10 to 11 years now, they've somehow stayed quote-unquote competitive, whereas the rest of the league has to go down to the bottom to kind of build back up. They make little moves early and then are able to stay slightly competitive, and now they have the top farm system in baseball probably, which came out of nowhere. It starts with a guy like Wander Franco, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, it is kind of scary, like you said. They might get the new ballpark and everything, but it has a feel of like the Marlins. They got their new park. They still just gutted the team. And then you see what's going on now. I think it might take a new owner to come in and fix everything. And if that's the case, it could get ugly. But unlike these other teams, I think something that keeps them competitive, like you said, is they do a great job of always having a next man up coming out of the minors. It's just like I said, it's from top to bottom. Their entire system at each level has a loaded player or two. And it's literally, if the day comes that they have to get rid of Snell for some reason, they have replacements to come up there. Unfortunately, that's the case, but it's also kind of a good thing to have.
Yeah, completely agree. So do you think the Red Sox end up winning the East?
Yeah, they're going to win the East. They're not going to win the World Series, but they're going to win the East.
Okay. Well, I don't have them win the World Series anyway, even though I would like them to. But yeah, there's just at the end of the day, Bob, there's just, although the Yankees have a few easy teams as well, the Red Sox right before that series are going to sweep Baltimore. Yeah, they literally are going to sweep Baltimore, and then you got to hope the pitching matchups work out with Houston, New York, and Cleveland. And luckily, that New York and Cleveland series is late in the season when hopefully Sale's back. So I think that's going to be fine, and they'll take care of it. Although it'll be closer than you think. And the fact that Yankees might win 105 games and lose the AL East is pretty incredible. But that is the AL as a whole. We're going to skip the AL Central because I both think that the Indians are going to win that division, correct?
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty hard for them not to win that division.
Okay, so that's why I didn't put it there, and we're gonna skip that, move right to the AL West, which somehow, some way, the A's are in it, and even the Mariners are still slightly in it, but pretty much not. The Astros are 1.5 in front of the A's, and the Mariners are 6.5 behind. What do you think will happen at the end of the day here? I know you made a little snide comment, but you don't really believe that the A's actually win that division, do you?
Yes, I do.
Oh, wow.
I really do. I really do. The Marcus Semien just took Garrett Cole over the train tracks. It's 2-0 A's right now as we speak. This is a huge series because it's the last time these two teams play each other on the season. And then this weekend, they got the Mariners for 3. Then they got the Yankees for 3. Big homestand coming up for the A's. And then the rest of their season's not bad. You got the Rangers, you got the Orioles, the tough Rays, then the Angels, the Twins, another series with the Mariners and the Angels. Really, after this Yankee series, the Rays is their toughest matchup to me because the rest of these teams are going to be punting. Like, they're done. So the A's schedule lightens up tremendously, in my opinion. And I really, really like what they're doing. Their pitching staff, losing Manaea doesn't really affect me because he hasn't done a ton. He's a coin toss when he goes out there. And I heard on another show, it makes sense. Like, yes, it could be worried because I don't like hearing any pitcher, especially young pitchers, having a shoulder impingement. That's never good, ever. But at the same time, he's already at 160 innings. He was at 158 last year. They might just be doing the Dodgers here and getting him some rest so he can pitch in the postseason. That really could be part of the scheme, and there's kind of working the system. Hopefully that's all it is. But in reality, you have Mike Fiers, scary, but he's been pitching great. You have Trevor Cahill at home, pitched outstanding. They even had Bassett come out of nowhere and pitch great yesterday. They've been piecing it together, and the biggest part is their bullpen is the scary part. It's like the way the Indians and the Astros won postseason games in the past. Give me 4 or 5 innings from the starters, and then we'll put that bullpen and just go lights out on you. We'll go matchups on you. We will just do work on you. And I really like what they've got going. That offense is hitting everybody. It is ridiculous, and that's why I think they can get to Houston. It's such a tight race that offense, I think, has enough to just do it. And I'm legit serious. I think they do it. At worst, they'll get a wild card for sure. I think they win the AL West.
They are not going to do it. I agree they're getting the wild card. I already said they're beating the Yankees in that wild card game. That was my bold prediction. I know you talked about the schedule for them. They, like you said, they play Oakland, 3 more times, including tonight, up 2-0 already. But the the Houston Astros, other than at Boston and then at home versus Arizona, George Springer's back. They play the Angels 7 times, Toronto 3 times, Detroit 3 times, Baltimore 4 times, Seattle 3 times, Minnesota 3 times. The only road games in there is at Boston in terms of a tough team. And then they end the season 7 games in Toronto and in Baltimore, who by then maybe Toronto will be scary because they'll finally open their eyes and call up Vlad Jr. And then maybe Donaldson's actually still there. And then at Baltimore, come on. I mean, I already said the rest of us are going to speak them. If they need that Baltimore series and Oakland needs at the same exact time, and Oakland needs at the Angels, I'm leaning towards Houston, even on the road, semi-cross country at Baltimore. I'm leaning towards Houston because that could be Mike Scioscia's swan song too. So they're going to play for that guy in the last 3 games. And I know I'm bringing crazy narratives up right there, but I know, and it could be Buck Showalter's swan song, but Baltimore, as we know, is like a AAA team. I think we would take probably Chicago's the White Sox's whole farm system with Eloy Jimenez and everybody else and Robert over that Baltimore team right now. I think Houston still gets it done. I also think if we're looking at the games right now, and yes, I know they're up 2-0. Edwin Jackson tomorrow against Morton, that's a Houston win. I know Edwin Jackson's been pretty good, which is pretty insane. And then their current wild card starter, Cahill, versus Keuchel as the swing game if they end up winning tonight. I mean, Cahill's, even if Manaea is healthy, I know we said last week, they have to start Cahill in that wild card game.
Maybe not, though, because he pitches so bad on the road. It might be Mike Fiers' time.
Yeah, but if you think that they're going to end up winning the division, which means they probably will have a better record than the Yankees ultimately, like, or they're 4.5 back from the Yankees. So
that's what I'm saying. They have a better shot, I think, holding out passing the Astros than passing the Yankees.
okay.
That's a big gap. Well, but they face the Yankees for 3. If they sweep the Yankees, that changes everything.
Yeah, so it's tough to do. It's tough to do this in baseball, but I think that's why we're doing this with a month left is because we can kind of look at it and say this is who they play. This is the injury situation that's going on now. Judge, there's still no timetable for Judge from what I've seen. I'm not sure.
He said he still has pain in his wrist and can't swing yet.
Yeah, so that's why it was crazy to me that they think it'd only be 6 weeks or whatever it was. I think it was 4 to 6 was their initial timetable. Yeah. So he's still got pain. Who knows? Gary Sanchez coming back. They need Aaron Judge. I said it before. It's not a hot take. They need him to go anywhere. So the A's still have a shot there, in my opinion. They've got to obviously probably sweep to have a shot there, but 2 out of 3 at the worst, and then help the Yankees kind of lose on that other trip. But yeah, I still have the Astros. You got the A's.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. It's going to be – I want to know how baseball screwed up and not having them play again after this weekend. Like, it's all of September, you don't play the freaking Houston Astros. I don't understand that scheduling at all. That's pretty bad. Let's talk NL East. This one's been fun. It's been kind of going back and forth. It seemed like it's the Phillies for a while, and it's the Braves. Braves are up 3 right now on the Phils. We already know the Nationals are dead. They're gone. Curtains. Bye. They waved the white flag. We don't want you're dead to us too. But the NL East, Braves, Phillies, very wild. I know we've talked Phillies a lot lately, and I'm big on the Phillies winning that division. Our guest, Smarty Jones, didn't think they would, and I guess they've reverted back to their old ways here of late. It's going to be interesting coming down the stretch here when you look at the 2 team schedules. Like, the Braves have a weird one. They had two against Tampa, a makeup game against the Cubs, and then they have a series against the Pirates to finish out August. So they're cramming in games, and then you got Boston, the Diamondbacks on the road, which, not great, but the Cardinals. Then they got 4 against the Phillies at home, and then they finished the year at 3 at Phillies. So there's going to be 7 games right there in the last 10 games of the year against the Philadelphia Phillies, let alone like those Boston and D-backs matchups. It's going to be pretty wild. I still think the Phillies pull this one out. I think they have more depth. That's it's hard to say depth is the right word because like, they're all really good. But when it comes to like top-end pitching and the bullpen, I think the Phillies have the advantage there. And I'm going Phillies. What do you got on this?
I got to tell you, that Braves schedule is
rough.
Is brutal. Absolutely brutal. I know, and the Braves don't have any games versus Miami the rest of the season. 0 games versus Miami. Their only easy games are at the Mets, and it's at the Mets.
And at the Giants.
Well, but again, that's cross country. It's. I know
the Giants can be sneaky. The Giants can be sneaky in that ballpark.
That's what I mean. Anytime you're playing on the road in baseball, especially going pretty much cross country, in my opinion, it's tough unless it's a Baltimore. San Francisco is always competitive with Bochy, and you know that, obviously being a fan. So yeah, they're gonna play that series hard. 4 at Arizona after they basically play 3, including 2-day games. They play a 5:05 game against Pittsburgh. Oh, and by the way, they have to throw in a makeup game this Thursday against the Cubs. So there's no day off there. They have 2 days off the rest of the season. You play 3 against Pittsburgh at home, 5:05 p.m. game, followed by a day game on Labor Day against the Red Sox, where they currently are Newcomb, who's been not great lately, facing Price. And then who knows? And then Porcello. So then they go to Arizona and San Francisco the next 7-day games with no days off. They're 3 games up though, and the Phillies with Eflin and Pivetta have sort of reverted back, but because of the Miami games and the Mets games at home. I mean, you've got 12 games against the Mets and the Marlins for the Phillies. You got to win minimum 8. And that's minimum. I'd like to see them win 9 or 10 out of 12 against them. I went with the Phillies before. I'm going to stick with them. I think Nola's good enough. I think Pivetta will get it back a little bit, and then Arrieta's still been Arrieta, and Velasquez have been good. The bullpen, they'll have to figure out that closer situation. Sir Anthony has not been great lately. Like he's like 7 ERA in the last 14 appearances. So ultimately, I am going to go with the Phillies as well, just because of that schedule. And those 12 games against those two crap teams, even though the Mets have played well lately, they've got to win 8 out of 12 minimum. So I'm going with the Phillies as well.
Yeah, that Braves schedule is really, really tricky. But when you look at the Phils also, they play 17 straight days to end the season. I know it's Miami and New York first.
I think it's the same with the Braves.
The Braves have a day off in there. But the Braves, they have to play the Braves for 4 on the road and then 4 at Coors, which is never easy for anybody, and then bounce back their last 3 days at home against Atlanta. That's not easy either. That the no games off given, you can expand your rosters. You'll have depth to help your bullpen and everything. The Mets and Marlins, they kind of need those sprinkled in the middle of that because Coors Field can mess anybody up. That can be interesting.
I agree, but at the same time, I kind of like that the 12 are right before that first Braves series because you can gain back your ground while they're off playing St. Louis and Arizona and San Fran and a few of those other teams. If you can gain back that ground in those 12 games, now it's like, okay, guys, it's up to us now. We control our own destiny. If we beat the head-to-head games against the Braves and then, split in Colorado and then do the same at home, we win the division, we make the playoffs. So it's going to be tricky, especially where the Rockies are in it too, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So both Phillies, right?
Yeah, both Phillies.
Okay. Let's go to the NL Central. This one, it's interesting. The Cubs are 4 up on the Cards, 4.5 on the Brewers. Like we've talked about before, it's crazy to us to think that the Cubs are this good with everything that's kind of gone on this year, but they've kind of figured everything out and stayed up there with Javi Baez having an MVP year and whatnot. And now the Cardinals come out of nowhere. Defense has been incredible with Bader out there. I don't know what to think of this division. I really don't. And I tweeted the other day, the Cardinals are really going to sneak in on us. And I got a couple of responses from our boy STL Cup of Joe and a few other people saying they're not sneaking in anywhere. They're playing good baseball, which they are. Bubba, I don't know if you saw it. You should go rewatch it if you can. That Walker Buehler, Jack Flaherty game. I could watch that game probably 100 times. It was those two were incredible. Those two were incredible. Do you have the Cubs still winning this division?
Real quick update. Matt Chapman just hit a 2-run bomb. It's 4-0 A's. Matt Chapman is sneaking into the MVP race. Just throwing that out there right now. That's another story from the other day with the way he's playing. He's sneaking in there.
You're not sneaking in anywhere in the MVP race. You're not jumping up those top 3. I love Matt Chapman not jumping up those top 3.
Well, I know, but he's going to get a lot more votes than people thought he was going to get. This is weird because the Cubs, I think, are still the best team, but when that pitching just scares me time and time again. And it's like a broken record. We've talked about it for 2 years now with this pitching staff, and they still haven't fixed the problem. They tried to, and then Chatwood is on the DL, and he's been garbage, and Darvish is hurt, and he's done for the year. It's just one mess after another. So I think offensively they're going to better than any of these teams. The Brewers offense is great, but it still isn't even gelling. It's kind of gone silent for a while. I don't know if it's mixing and matching different guys. They had so many bats. I think they're going to fall off here pretty soon. Maybe find a way to get in the wild card. The Cardinals are the crazy one. We didn't say it, but we thought they were pretty much done for a while. They're like when they fired Matheny.
I think I might have said it.
Yeah, it was pretty much. If it wasn't said, it was very much insinuated that they were a done deal. And I'm with you on kind of apologizing to people because they look damn good. And Jack Flaherty is a guy we've loved forever. Like we've been big fans of him. STL's boy Gomber has been filthy. I was talking to him yesterday, and you look at his pinned tweet from 2015. He was predicting this Gomber run. He's been all over Gomber. So that's a big one. If they leave Wainwright out of the rotation when he comes back, that'll be the smartest thing a new manager's ever done for the Cardinals. That's a no-no. They got Dominic Leone back up into the bullpen. Maybe a little time away is going to help him be that guy we thought he'd be. They're piecing it together, and their offense is damn good, obviously, with Carpenter. Ozuna's starting to get going, then he went back to the DL. They're getting it all done. The biggest thing for me is you look at their schedule. They got Pittsburgh to finish the month. You got Cincinnati, at the Nationals, at the Tigers, Pittsburgh, 4 against the Dodgers, but it's at home, so it'll be tough. At the Braves, not easy. But then you got the Giants at home, 3 against the Crew, and then you finish up with 3 in Wrigley. At one point, we didn't think those 3 in Wrigley would matter. I think that's going to be electric. Like we just mentioned the Braves and the Phillies the final weekend of the year. We got the Cubs and the Cardinals the final weekend of the year. We haven't even got to one other division race and 2 wild cards. And Mo, I think we have 3 series that are going to be huge almost to the end of that Sunday.
Yeah, this one's the toughest one for me
because
because
very tough.
It's you look at as I kind of pull it up right now, I had it open, but the Brewers pitching, I know their bullpen is very good, right? And we know that they kind of went with the whole mentality that their offense would sort of carry them, and in a way it has if you kind of think about it, because their pitching staff is just bleh. I mean, they really haven't done anything to improve it. They went and they somehow have gotten a lot from Wade Miley, which has kind of come out of nowhere. Chase Anderson hasn't been very good. I know he's 4.04 ERA, but not great, giving up the long ball. Freddie Peralta gave him a few good starts. I mean, Junior Guerra and Chacin have been great. I'd be interested to see what they do with Hader next year. But that's an off-season talk. They really, I think, were counting on Jimmy Nelson to come back after the All-Star break, and it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I agree. I think with everything going on, and we're going to talk about, the wild card in a little bit, I think the Brewers are going to be out. I do, and it's kind of sad to me because I did.
We kind of adopted them, like that was our team,
and they're still early, I believe. You got maybe they'll bring up Hiura to, I don't know, give them.
Well, it's their same problem though that they had last year. They don't have the pitching. Yeah. It's simple. That's their problem. They thought they could just out-hit everybody.
Yeah, but I think, with the whole Archer thing, they didn't go get Archer, and that might might have been the right decision there. But yeah, they just don't have the pitching. I wonder what they'll do this offseason. Maybe go get a Keuchel as sort of a veteran presence, even though he's not a number one. He'll probably be better in the NL. And, you don't need – you saw with the Royals. You kind of saw with the Giants, even though Bumgarner was ridiculous. I mean, I know the Giants pitching was very, very good, but it wasn't elite per se, except for Bumgarner. So yeah, they could do that next season, maybe move Hader there. But I think ultimately, the way they've played lately, the way the pitching staff has been, I still don't believe in Junior Guerra or Chacin. I think they'll be out, but I still think the Cubs will end up winning this division. But I do agree with your last point, which is I really hope that last series counts.
Yeah, I think the Cubs take it down. We'll get to the wild card pretty soon, but I think the Cubs do take it down. But damn, it can't be said enough how impressive this Cardinals run's been. It's been shocking, and I almost want the Cardinals to do it to really give the middle finger to Mike Matheny. I think it'd be so amazing for them to finish off.
Yeah, right.
Like Matheny, he might never get hired again if they didn't.
No, I don't think he should. I mean, a lot of people won't think that, but he'll get a job somewhere.
Oh, yeah. It's baseball. Let's go to the NL West, which another wild one, and it brings a smile to my face every time I see the standings because I'm waiting to, wait a few days and check again, and it's going to be the bad team on top, but they're still behind. They're actually in third right now. The D-backs are leading the way as they keep getting it done with some really good pitching, and then just that offense, that Humidor – it's having way more effect than we thought it was going to at the beginning of the year. It's really, or it's having the effect, I guess, many thought, but we didn't believe in at the beginning of the year. It's getting the job done, and the Rockies are the ones that surprised me right now, hanging in there, only a game back of the D-backs. I kept waiting for the Rockies to fall apart, but John Gray's been electric. Kyle Freeland, Sensatella, all these guys they've brought up through their system for years now, they've never been able to pan it out. They're pitching better at home than on the road almost. Like, maybe not as a team, but these big core starters they have are better at home than on the road, which is something, I don't know about you, I never thought I would see in my lifetime in Coors Field, let alone this soon, because they didn't do much to surprise us last year outside of John Gray. And now you got Freeland, and who's not even a hard thrower. Anderson struggled the last month or so, but prior to that, he was a part of it. You had Sensatella, like I said, and you got Marquez. Herman Marquez has been just filthy. Absolutely filthy. So they're getting it done. They spent all that money on the bullpen, and it's having its hiccups here and there. But I guess when you have 70 relievers you paid $200 million for, you can, move guys around and make it work. The third team I haven't mentioned yet, they were blue. They're called the Dodgers. They are in third place. They're 2.5 out of first, and currently out of the wild card as well, which would bring so much excitement to me. Like, if they could tee it up next to the Giants on October 1st, that would be outstanding. But it's an interesting race. You keep wanting to say the Dodgers are going to come back. That's the way I see it, just because on paper they are the most talented team in the West. I think the D-backs hang on. I really do. We saw what they did last year. They made that run with JD. And then this year they're starting to really get it going again because Goldie all of a sudden woke up. Escobar's been a huge addition. You got Pollock. David Peralta, probably one of the least talked about really, really good players in baseball, is crushing it. I love what they're doing. They're starting rotation with Greinke and Corbin have been filthy. Godley's been better of late. If they could get Robbie Ray figured out, it would be electric. And good old, probably one of the best Players Weekend jerseys ever, Boxberger. He's been perfect. Like, people thought it was a joke. I thought he was a late round target, but they expected him to be replaced by now. He's been perfect, absolutely perfect. So the best thing the Dodgers have going for them right now is a pitcher that wore D Mountain on his jersey, which was literally, if it was any team but the Dodgers, I would buy a jersey of that because I think that's electric. But I just can't wear Dodgers. It's just not allowed. But after all that rambling, I think it's the D-backs. I didn't even get into the schedules because it's pretty loaded between three different teams. You probably have it easier access than I do, but I got the D-backs. What say you?
Yeah, I don't have the Dodgers, which is
it's fine by me. Pick either one.
I know it's fine by you, but I was right about one thing at the beginning when they had that start of the season. I'm like, they're going to get back into it somehow. They're going to figure it out. They're playing below their talent level. They lost Seager, and then you go ahead and you make that Machado deal. Their pitching staff is there. They got Ryu back. He's been good. Walker Buehler's been good, and I think he'll be able to pitch the rest of the season. Even though his innings are going to get up high, eventually you're going to have to push his innings, because they can't just say, oh, we're going to pitch him 120 this year, 140 next year. They got to push his innings up because he's got to be one of their studs down the road. They're going to have to make the decision about Kershaw. But their schedule, Bubba, it's brutal. It really is. And it's because they have so many road games. They've got 10 in a row at Colorado. That's Cincy's easy. But then 4, as you mentioned with St. Louis earlier, that they had them at home. The Dodgers are on the road, and then you got 6 to end the season. And and I talked about
that last week.
Yeah, that is going to be that'll be appointment television for you and for all the Giants fans, because you know what? At the end of the day, your Giants team could suck like they did last year, but it's the Dodgers, and they're going to get up for it. So they only play San Diego 3 times. Big 3-game series coming up, starting Labor Day with the Mets. Got to take that this coming weekend. They've got 4 with Arizona at home. And it looks like you got Hill versus Ray, Kershaw versus Greinke, Ryu versus Corbin, Buehler versus Buchholz. Those pitching matchups, I would probably you try to figure out who has – you probably take Buehler over Buchholz, even though Buchholz pitching well lately, right? So that's the 4th game. Ryu, Corbin.
But real quick, you know what's crazy? It's closer than it should be. Buchholz has been that good.
Oh, really, yes, I agree. I bet against him the other day. Didn't work out, but it was a big dog. Hill versus Ray right now could be Hill, the way Ray's pitching.
But see, maybe Buchholz faces Hill. That's why I don't think Ray's that high up their staff anymore. I think Buchholz has passed him on their staff.
That's crazy to think about being my outside Cy Young guy. I agree. I think ultimately, even though the Rockies have played unbelievable, and I'm the king of the roller coaster for John Gray. I've been all aboard that, even when he got demoted. I'm still on that train. We mentioned last week that he's so high up in WAR or Fangraphs WAR for starting pitching this year, which tells you everything you need to know about that stat. For some people, I think it's still relative, and it's still good for some people to look at. But yeah, the Rockies, they really, I don't think they get it done. I think their schedule is very tough as well. There's only this weekend with the Angels and San Diego, and then other than that, it's all against very good teams. Say what you want about Washington, still be very good at the end of the season. I do have the Diamondbacks win that division as well, just like you. I think top to bottom with their staff, you talked about their offense, and their bullpen is very good with some of the low moves that my guy Mike Hazen made. I got the Diamondbacks as well.
And I know this wasn't part of the podcast. We were just talking about the wild or the playoff races. But like, just think about it. So you got D-backs, you got Cubs, and I think we both went Phillies, right?
Both went Phillies.
So those are your three winners. We're not going to talk about. We'll get to the wild cards in a minute. D-backs have to be the best out of those three.
They probably are. Yeah, I would have to say that. I would have to say that they are. You know, you wish Greinke was a little bit better than he. You know, he's had a very, very good season. You wish he was more dominant, and I'd like them even more. But you know, Corbin's been incredible. They've gotten something. This is what makes me laugh is the Brewers got something out of Wade Miley and the Diamondbacks got something out of Clay Buchholz, but they just couldn't get it done here. I wonder why that is. But you know, it's nice to see them pitching well for teams that I actually do like. D-backs would be the best out of that team. They're not sneaking up. I mentioned that a few weeks ago. Last year they snuck up on people and they were the flavor of the week. This year they're not sneaking up. They were supposed to be very good. And they, like you said, they might be the best out of those three.
Yep, pretty cool.
Only one playoff, you know, game for that whole crew for the most part, you know, other than Greinke with the Dodgers. So that's another thing compared to the Cubs to look at. Let's go to the AL wild card. I think we both can agree, and we could probably go through this pretty quickly. I think we both agree it's going to be to you it's going to be Yankees and Astros. To me, it's going to be Yankees and A's. And I think ultimately it'll be A's at Yankees, and I'm assuming you think it's Astros at Yankees?
I think it's Astros at Yankees, yes. Regardless, it's Astros or the A's, most likely at the Yankees, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to – now, this depends on Chris Sale's health. If the Yankees get through it, they lose Severino, even though he hasn't pitched great. I think that's a killer for that team. I know Sabathia has been okay, but you basically start, Bubba, with in that playoff. Now, do you think the Astros beat the Yankees?
Yes. So
we both think the Yankees are going to lose, but what you're looking at here is you're looking at, you know, even if the Yankees make it through, you're looking at Tanaka, Happ, Sabathia is what most likely it'll be. Now, put that in any order. It might be Tanaka, Happ, Sabathia, you know, Happ, Tanaka, Sabathia. I still think the A's do it. And hopefully Trevor Cahill starts that game against Severino, and then you got probably Verlander against Severino, depending, you know, what happens in both divisions.
Yeah, regardless, that wild card game, it's going to be pretty electric because you're going to, no matter what, you're going to have a damn good matchup, and it'd be really crazy if it wasn't in Yankee Stadium. That would make it even better. But it's going to be really impressive to see how it plays out, and you never know. In 2 weeks from now, it could take one of these teams might have a losing streak, and all hell breaks loose. So it'll be real interesting.
Yeah, and A's and Astros are both fighting for that division, so they're not, even though they're trying to win as many games as possible, they're not really looking up at the Yankees, in my opinion. So I think the Yankees will end up hosting that game either way of what's going to be what team makes it there. I know we differ on it, but either way, that team that is the easy wild card race. Now we get to the tough one.
Yeah, as tough as it was for the National League divisions, you got the Cardinals leading the way, a half game over the Brewers. So right now you have an NL Central playoff for the wild card, Cubs and Brewers. The Rockies are a game back of the Brew Crew. Phillies are 2 back. Dodgers are 2.5 back. So basically on paper, the D-backs are tied with the Brewers if something changes in that division. But for this sake, right now you got Cards and Brewers in there with the Rockies, Phillies, and Dodgers looking in. And that's pretty crazy because I guess if we want to play matchmaker, Mo, we have the Phillies winning the East. So then that means the Braves are in the wild card race. And they'd be a game out right now, if you really want to get technical with this. So you got Cards, Brewers in. Rockies, we'll say Rockies, Braves, Phillies, Dodgers. 4 looking in. I got Cardinals. I'll say Cardinals and Braves. And I think Cardinals is the one I feel most comfortable with. The rest of it, literally, I could throw darts at a board right about now.
See, the Cardinals one's tough for me because I know Jack Flaherty has been unbelievable, and he's got all the potential in the world, and Gomber's been good, and Michaelis has been just steady. John Gant's been good. I'm not sure it's deep enough. I know they've gone with Weaver in the bullpen now. You know, Dominic Leone's back, which helps them. Martinez is in the bullpen. Doesn't look like he's going to come back to the rotation. I think ultimately – I agree that the Braves make it, okay? And then after that, it gets tough. It becomes – so would you say you have the Cardinals and the Braves?
The Braves, yeah. It's tough.
It's tough.
Why you think about it? The Astros just rallied to tie it at 4 in the third,
and the White Sox beating the Yankees 3-2. So it's all very tough. I think with the momentum that they have going for them, I think ultimately the Cardinals will end up making it with the Braves, just because the Braves, they've got they got a few more games against lower teams. The Cardinals have to play a bunch of really, really tough teams. Same with Colorado. And I think, again, sort of like the whole division thing with the AL West, that NL West division race, they're going to beat each other up. Whereas I know the Cardinals are still in it per se, but it's 4 games. It's a lot to make up unless you beat your head-to-head games against the Cubs. So because of that, I'm going to go Cardinals, Braves, and Cardinals will end up hosting that game.
Yeah, I can agree with that. That's fun.
That is so one difference, right? You had the Astros in the wild card. I had the A's. Mm-hmm. Both had D-backs, Cubs, Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's see what happens here. I think the only sneaky team, because I think the Dodgers schedule is just too much. I think the Rockies are that only quote unquote wild card of the wild card teams, because that rotation and bullpen, although they've done great lately, I'm not sure I trust them other than John Gray, although Freeland's been good. It's I'm just not sure I trust them in September. So we'll have to see what happens. And in Cardinals, they got the young guys, so we'll see how they kind of work out with the playoff push. A lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting because the Rockies won that home field advantage at Coors Field. It goes a long ways in what could help them big time in that series.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's get to the last one here. Let's get to my guy Jimmy Bowden. He came out on The Athletic. It was actually it was like 5 days ago, but basically grading all the farm systems.
Who better to grade up than Jim Bowden?
Yeah, well, I know, but it is what it is. He gives us information that we don't have time to put together. So that's not a bad thing about it. So all 32 MLB teams after the trade deadline kind of went through in recent championships, with the Astros and Cubs, they rebuilt. And a lot of younger teams have done kind of the same thing. The Padres went off the cuff and signed Hosmer for God knows what. But if you look at it, the Braves, the White Sox, the Reds in a way have kind of gone way down to come back up. Same thing with the Tigers. And just to run through the top 5, Bubba, who got A's or A minuses: Padres, Braves, Blue Jays, Rays, White Sox, in that order. And you look at the bottom 5, Mets, Indians, Red Sox, Royals, Mariners, in that order. We can talk about as many as you want. Let's some surprises by you, maybe on how low someone was or how high someone was.
One thing, like the Padres, is always fun for me because they're so deep and a lot of it's so young that they're still just getting better, which is crazy. But the Blue Jays, I didn't think they'd be that high. I guess I got to go reevaluate. This is a good article. I was skimming it while you're talking. I need to actually read the rest of his stuff outside of the rankings here because I know the Blue Jays have talent. I'm very aware of that. I just didn't think they were as deep as some of these teams, but maybe in the recent drafts and international signings, they really got it going. And I guess having one guy named Vlad Guerrero Jr. kind of elevates you above everybody else. So that doesn't suck. The Rays system, we already talked about that. But if you go down farther, the Twins being a B+, that was a system a couple of years ago we thought didn't have much at all to offer. The biggest one might be the Tigers because they didn't have anything to offer when they made that trade for they traded J.D. Martinez. They didn't get much back, and when we evaluated that trade, we saw how empty that system was. And to be up to a B+ and 10th overall is pretty darn good. The fall of the Chicago Cubs, all the way down to 19, B-, once one of the highest systems. And sure, they sold it to get the World Series. You got to do those things, but not good at all. And then, of course, we talked about them time and time again. You said it, number 29, the Kansas City Royals. When you go for the title and then you don't know how to rebuild properly, that's what you're left with. And it's going to be a long road to hoe in Kansas City, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think I was surprised per se by Detroit because I think they had a very good draft by most standards.
They had a very, very good draft.
Yeah, and then some of the trades that they got, they might be, a little bit higher. I'm not sure I'd have them higher than Oakland, but I think their system, everything I've read, has had a great year overall. Baltimore, although they're at 21, I mean, that's a good start for them because I think most people would consider them, they were probably like a bottom 3 in their prospects. So they get, they get, who is it? It was the outfielder from
the Dodgers.
Diaz, right? Yeah, Yasniel Diaz. They get him. They already had Mountcastle. They had DL Hall, then a few other guys. My Red Sox way down there. I'm not surprised by that. You mentioned the Royals. They're not off to a good start. The draft is huge for not only them.
They took a lot of ready pitchers, so we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, and then the Rays, Wander Franco was sort of an unknown per se by most non-prospect people, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not pretty sure he wasn't a top 100 at the beginning of the season, and if he was late. Brett Honeywell, we know. Brendan McKay, first-round pick last year. Austin Meadows in there. Jesus Sanchez, their first-round pick. Matthew Liberatore is all the way down to 12. And he's like killing it, I believe, in his first full month of baseball.
Crushing it.
The last one, Bubba, that I do want to talk about is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, who are all the way up to 14 now. And I think that's mainly because of the stud season that Joe Adell has had. Yeah. So Joe Adell, he's been unbelievable. They got him. And the funny thing I saw on this, Bubba, is like Kevin Maiton isn't even on like their top 9,
I just according to that. That's crazy.
And for those of you who don't remember, he was one of the guys that the Braves lost because of the whole international, fund and slot money scandal that they had. But yeah, Wander Franco going back to the Rays looks to be like maybe next year's Juan Soto. Be interesting to see what they do if that does happen with. I know he's very young, but he is going to he's not tracking in that way. And then so they'll have him and Willie Adames. They'll have to figure that out, but the Rays always do. So yeah, it's an interesting list by Bowden. I mean, we always make fun of his trades and whatnot. So I wonder how many people he's actually talked to. Like, I know they have Emily Walden, who is the Tigers prospect analyst, and maybe you got something from her that had them that high, and it kind of helped them out a little bit. But yeah, you look at it. I kind of find I take it the other way. My last comment on the Cubs, Bubba. I thought they'd be way even. I know they're at 19, but I feel like they'd be even lower than that with how many guys they traded. I mean, they're going to end up losing that Quintana trade. I mean, that's not that hard. The Red Sox, they're going to win the Sale trade. So it's interesting to see this list by Jimmy Bowden. We'll have a lot more in the offseason, but a lot of teams are higher, and the Blue Jays are high because they've got a guy who could be MVP in 2 years. You just never know.
Yeah, one I think will be fun to watch. You look at the Marlins, they're at C+, and their system was bad, but they got so many prospects. You look at their top 8, most of those are guys they picked up this year. So,
yep.
And they've already had huge years, like Nick Neidhart. I remember seeing him in Modesto when he was with the Mariners. He's gone over there. He's pitching really well. Monty Harrison's having an up and down year, but he seems to be figuring it out. We've seen Sandy Alcantara, I think, once in the bigs was pretty darn good. He's having an okay year. Ison Diaz, they have talent. I think they just need to figure it out type deal. So that'll be really interesting to kind of see where that all goes. The Phillies, man, you slide down to that one. Sixto Sanchez, Alec Baum's number 3. Mickey Moniak's actually starting to figure it out, which is really scary. They're loaded because a lot of people counted Mickey Moniak out when he's starting to get it going now. But yeah, you slide up and down it. I'm going to be a homer here for a minute. The Giants are a C, which I understand because they were probably an F before the season. I am excited about what they've been doing. Joey Bart's their number 1. He's been crushing it at every level. Looking forward to seeing him in San Jose next year with Helio Ramos, the 1 and 2s. Sean Anderson, a pitcher I believe came over from Boston, been very, very good. Chris Shaw somehow isn't in the bigs yet this year. I don't know why. Heath Quinn's having a good year. But see, most of these guys and some that aren't even listed here, like in the real Giants top 10, are all in like double A and below, most in single A and below. So it's going to be a little while from the Giants, but they're building it up. It's one of those, the depth is so low that in like 2 years they might be like a 10th ranked team just because they finally put depth together. And maybe they'll trade Bumgarner and get some pieces. Who knows? But I am very excited about what's actually come to be with them because it looks really bad. I think when we kind of broke stuff down in the offseason and stuff, it wasn't pretty at all. But yeah, there's some really, really, really good systems and some systems that make sense why teams are struggling.
Yeah, and a lot of people, if you look at the comments down below, are killing the Giants or killing him about the Giants, saying like Joey Bart, one of the things, Bart was clearly the best position player left on the board. And he kind of was the first one taken. So that was there, and a lot of Giants comments down there. So that's kind of funny to me. You can go and have a laugh at that if you want. But yeah, the last one I want to mention, Bubba, is the Nationals. It's next year with them is going to be a very interesting year. He gave them a B, 16 out of 30. Victor Robles is their top one. Keyboom is very good. But after that, Seth Romero has a ton of off-field issues. There's only 6 of them listed on there. So their transition next year, they should be still very, very good. You still got Soto, you still got Trey Turner, Rendon, Strasburg and Scherzer in the front of that rotation. But no more Bryce Harper. Still have Adam Eaton, but it'll be an interesting transition with the Braves and Phillies really trending up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out, but they'll be good. Problem is they won't be as good as the Braves and the Phillies. That's their downfall. Yep. But it'll be fun to keep checking it out. We'll start our season reviews next week for the teams that are officially dead. We waited till the end of the year last year, but heck, let's get it in now. We'll get that going. Mo, you have a big week ahead of you or something going on? Anything fun?
Yeah. I'm going back to the horse track, and I got a lot of Red Sox baseball to watch because we've got to win a lot of games coming up. This has not been good, but I think we both know that offense isn't going to score 4 runs in a series again. I think they'll be all right.
No, they'll be just fine. They're going to win the East, but the playoff races are going to be fun. I don't think this is the last time we're going to break them down, so it'll be really good. And there's at least 3 series there for the last weekends of the year that could be insane. So I can't wait for it. But until then, we'll wrap it up for the week. This is Around the Bases with Bubba and Mo. Check us out on Twitter at AroundBasesPod, and we'd appreciate a rate and review over on iTunes. Mo is at Boston_Mo. I am at BDintric. This was episode 78, little MLB playoff predictions. Catch you guys next time.
See you.